Shakers, and welcome to Worth Your Salt, the podcast that shakes up your marketing game in the health and wellness industry. Worth Your Salt is brought to you by Salt Marketing. Salt Marketing helps health and wellness practitioners build trust and authority to attract a steady stream of inbound wellness seekers. For more information, you can visit us online at saltmarketing.co. I'm Jennifer Oraqua, StoryBrand Certified Guide, Marketing Strategist with Salt Marketing, and your host for today's episode of Worth Your Salt. Now, have you ever met someone who owns several companies, sits on several boards, has a thriving family life, and still has time to play 20 hours of golf a week? There's a specific way of thinking, I guess today we'll tell you, that produces that kind of lifestyle. He says that trying harder won't get you there, that you've got to think at a higher level about getting things done. Mindset coach Jarrod Haning is here to explain that and tell us about the thinking patterns that truly move the needle for entrepreneurs. With years of experience helping his clients optimize their mindset for peak performance, Jarrod brings a wealth of knowledge and insight to the table. Through his company, Mindset Performance, he empowers individuals to break through limiting beliefs, conquer self-doubt, and achieve their loftiest goals. On today's episode, we're going to explore the transformative power of mindset and uncover the keys to unlocking unstoppable success. Jarrod, I appreciate you joining me today on Worth Your Salt.
Woohoo! Happy to be here.
So, Jarrod, I'm curious, how did you come to this offering of being a mindset coach? Tell me a little bit about your background and how you became interested in mindset and performance.
Yes, background and also hopefully a working definition of mindset for our conversation today. Background is I was a classical musician for 20 years. I was the principal violist with the South Carolina Philharmonic. And during that time, I would teach entrepreneurs how to access different parts of their brain on demand. Because when you're able to tap into different thinking patterns, it changes your expression, your creativity, your productivity. It gets you out of the weeds. So I would teach people how to do that. And the trick, of course, in order to tap into those thinking patterns is you go through the body. It's the emotion that causes the brain to rewire itself. But back then, I didn't have a way to show somebody how they were currently using those thinking patterns. I didn't have a map, if you will, to get them out of the weeds. And then 15 years ago, I came across the work of Robert Hartman, his Nobel-nominated research. And now we have the map that allows us to see what the thinking patterns are that's tripping that person up, where the blind spots are. I'm going to hold up a picture here to the camera for the video folks, so you can see kind of what it looks like when we map out those thinking patterns. And then when I had the map, I left the world of classical music and became full-time at the Mindset Gym. Oh, working definitions while we're here. Okay. Working definitions for this conversation. Mindset is not necessarily a way of looking at the world. It's not necessarily an attitude, a personality trait. It's not even positive thinking. Mindset is a strategic pattern of thinking because we don't have problems in our life. After all, we have patterns. And if it's a pattern, that means that anybody can adopt that pattern to achieve the same results.
And I know we're going to talk a little bit about some of the experiences you've had, some case studies and things, but what do you believe are the biggest mindset challenges that entrepreneurs face today?
Golly, the biggest mindset challenge is the things that make the most sense to us. The things that make the most sense are what keep us stuck in the same ruts that we find ourselves in. Don't have enough time, don't have enough money, can't get the referrals, whatever's going on. I'll give you an example. There is a way of thinking that believes that if action gets results, then more action will get more results. Now, this certainly sounds logical on the surface. How are you supposed to argue with that? Well, here's the pickle. And this is how the mindset actually begins to work against the entrepreneur. If your brain solves problems by taking action, then it just looks for action to take, which is why for that person, there's always more on their to-do list than they have time to get done, and working harder and faster doesn't clear it up. The things that make the most sense to us are the very things that hold us back the most as well.
So how can entrepreneurs cultivate that growth mindset to overcome those challenges?
Thankfully, most entrepreneurs naturally have a growth mindset. The challenge, of course, is we can't think of what we can't think of. We can't think of things that won't make sense. We can't read the label from the inside of the bottle. We have no idea what the one thought is that we're away from that's going to change everything. And here's a couple things that will help. Having a champion in your life. A champion is the kind of person that embodies that way of living. The problem with the champion, though, is you can't ask them how they do it because they're going to make up some kind of nonsense that seems like the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how they do it. And the reason is they've always done it that way. It's just the water they swim in. So please do not ask them how they do it or how they think you should do it, because that's just going to mess it up. Here's what you do instead. When you have a champion in your life, sit on the floor and listen to them talk on the phone. And over time, you will start to pick up on that vibe, that energy, that way of thinking that their mind solves problems with. The second one is a community. A community is a body of people that are doing that. The challenge there, of course, is it's very easy to find people like you who want it. It's very hard to find a community of people who already have it. That
Mm-hmm.
community is going to be extremely expensive to join. The other option is a crucible. Life will bring you the test. It will. The
Mm-hmm.
crucible, this is the divorce, bankruptcy, crash, failure, sickness, illness, crisis that is so painful it forces your brain to rewire itself. Or, of course, the coach. If your business is not performing at an Olympic level, there's a good chance you don't have a coach, because no one goes to the Olympics without a coach. The
Mm-hmm.
coach's job is to bring the scientific understanding of what exercise produces a specific result. And in the case of mindset, it is what exercise causes the brain to rewire itself for a specific way of thinking.
So from there, can we talk a little bit about limiting beliefs? How can they hold us back?
Limiting beliefs are the things that make the most sense, because the things that make the most sense are the things that hold us back the most. It both serves us and works against us. We're both right about it and missing a bigger picture because of it. Limiting beliefs are things like action gets results. Limiting beliefs are things like, well, it's going to cost money and I don't have the money to do it. It's going to take time and I don't have the time to do it. It's going to take energy. I don't have the energy to do it. It's going to take knowledge or skills and I don't have the knowledge or skills to do it. You're absolutely right. You were absolutely right about all those things. And despite that, there is somebody you know that has done it even though they didn't have the money, done it even though they didn't have the time, done it even though they didn't have the support that they needed at home, because their brain just found another way to solve that problem.
So can you give us some examples of how that might work in practice? Finding that support or finding ways to overcome those beliefs.
To overcome the beliefs, I would propose that your current beliefs make sense, and there's no sense in trying to talk you out of them. Whatever it is that you believe, you're not tall enough, good looking enough, charming enough, outgoing enough, you don't have enough support or money or time or health or energy or whatever it is that you believe, I would propose that you've got a lot of good reasons to believe that. I mean, you're not crazy. You could probably list out 10 of them, just boom, spit them out just like that. So there's no sense arguing the limiting belief. Now, here's what we can do instead. There has been a time in your life that you were a superhero. You found yourself operating at a level that you didn't think was possible. You were in a situation where you couldn't afford to wonder if you could do it or wonder how to do it. You just couldn't afford that. So you were saying no, you were telling the truth without sugarcoating it. You were asking for help. You were asking for what you really want, not what you thought you could have. You were renegotiating if needed. You were just on the fly. And I hear stories all the time of people whose their sister had cancer. And so for the 6 months their sister was in chemo, they were taking care of their business. They were taking care of their sister's business. They were getting their kids to soccer practice. They were getting their sister's kids to soccer practice. All of this at the same time for 6 months. Why? Because they couldn't afford to think of why they couldn't do it. They were just doing it. They were a superhero during that season. And I bet in your life, there was also a season, even a weekend, where you were a superhero. That's our first clue. Here's our second clue. There are times in your life when things work so amazingly well that you absolutely love it. You absolutely love how it feels to get the support that you needed. There has been a time in your life that you have felt support. There's time in your life that you have felt that you were heard and valued. and you loved how that felt. There's been a time in your life that you were completely clear on what life was calling you to next and how you were uniquely wired to make that. There has been a time in your life. Maybe it was only once. Maybe it was just a couple days. Maybe it happened 10 years ago. But there was a time when everything came together.
Hmm.
So here's what we do instead. Whatever that belief is that is true for you, you really don't have enough money. You really don't have the support that you would like at home. You really don't have the confidence that you need. You're absolutely right about that. So you're going to sit down, and for 30 seconds, you are purposely going to feel as miserable as possible about that. You're going to call up all those feelings of depression and despair and exasperation and frustration and sadness and loss and confusion, and you're going to let them flood through your body for 30 seconds. It's not going to kill you. And then here's what's going to happen next. You're going to think of that time when you were a superhero. You're going to think of that time, those 3 days, 10 years ago, when you were seen, heard, and valued, when you had absolute clarity, when you were surrounded by support, when everything was working and you knew it. And you were going to give yourself permission to feel the joy and elation and positive and the lightness of being and the energy. You're going to give yourself permission to let that flood through your body. And then you're going to go back to the pit of despair. And then you're going to go back to the light of possibility. And you're just going to alternate 3 or 4 times. And I promise you, if you will let both energies flow through your body equally, alternating one at a time, your brain will rewire itself. And that limiting belief will just fall away on its own, because while it might be true, it's also true that you love how it feels when you're supported, that you love how it feels when you have clarity, that you love how it feels when you're serving people, and your brain will naturally start to seek out more evidence for why you're surrounded by that truth as well.
All right, Jarrod, this is amazing insight into how mindset can profoundly influence our success. I have to take a quick sponsorship break right now. When we come back, I want to talk about some practical approaches to overcoming setbacks with good habits that bolster resilience.
The Worth Your Salt podcast is grateful to our partners and sponsors, including Keep. Keep CRM provides sales and marketing automation for health and wellness businesses, allowing you to organize everything. With Keep, your new leads get personalized interaction from you without it taking up your time. Once those leads become clients, Keep CRM creates a frictionless customer journey at a level that makes your clients say,
"You just get me."
Trustworthiness, dependability, and expertise are what matters to consumers in health and wellness, and 44% of them say they won't buy if you don't follow up quickly. Much more than just another email platform, Keep provides the marketing, sales, e-commerce, and customer lifecycle tools you need to create strong relationships. As your Keep certified partner, the Salt Marketing team will guide you to the Keep CRM solution that works for you. Download your copy of Keep's comprehensive guide to lifecycle marketing at saltmarketing.co/keep. That's saltmarketing.co/KEAP to get the peace of mind that comes from an organized, personalized, automated workflow.
I'm back here on the Worth Your Salt podcast with Jarrod Haning, master coach with Mindset Performance. So, Jarrod, what advice do you have for entrepreneurs who are struggling with like imposter syndrome or self-doubt?
It comes down to this one thing. Remember how you want to feel. So here's what we say. If I was confident, I would be taking more action. If I had more money, I would invest in myself more. If I had more free time, I would develop my skill set more. If I felt better about what was possible in my future, I would take more action towards it. All I ask is that you skip ahead to the last step, how you want to feel. When your calendar is full of clients, when you're speaking all you want, coaching all you want, training all you want, selling all the products you want, whatever the heck it is, how does that make you feel? Do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel a sense of purpose? Do you feel a sense of stimulation, excitement, challenge? What is that feeling for you? Is it technically possible to give yourself permission to feel that now? Would it violate the laws of physics? Is it within the nature of your personality to give yourself permission to do something crazy like that, to actually feel that now for a few seconds? And the last question is, when? The imposter syndrome says, I don't know enough. I'm not qualified enough. I don't have enough experience. Somebody else can say this better, communicate it better. I probably shouldn't charge this much. That's okay, fine. How does it feel when you're serving somebody and making a bigger difference in their life? And that one person, oh gosh, man, I love that. Boy, I love just knowing that this is working for them and it's helping them and this is the right season in their life. Man, I love nothing more than that. Holy moly. Would you look at that? No imposter syndrome for the 3 seconds that you remembered how it feels. So remember how you want to feel, not what you think you need to do first to deserve to feel that way. Remember how you want to feel.
So, when it comes to setbacks and failures, how do you recommend that we deal with that from a mindset perspective?
Setbacks and failures, for me, I would propose, let's look at the math. Your business isn't doing well. You don't have the clients that you need. You don't have the income that you need. Let's look at the math. How many cold calls are you making every week? How many pieces of content are you putting out every week? How many prospecting conversations are you having every week? How many videos are you recording? Like what is your metric? What is your lead generation metric? How many of those are happening every week? Now, for most people, they look at that and the answer is 0. They aren't doing jack diddly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Instantly, you can stop beating yourself up for being a failure. You're not even trying. It's not time to beat yourself up. We got to at least try before you have permission to beat yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then the next step. On average, how many conversations, how many pieces of content, how many videos, how many outbound calls, how many of X activity, on average, how many of X activity produces Y conversion, produces the client, produces the book call, produces the speech, produces the income, whatever it is, just on average.
Mm-hmm.
1 in 20 virtual coffees leads a client, leads an opportunity to pitch. 1 in 5 pitches leads a client. Just do the math.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in that math, that means that 1 out of 100 virtual coffees yields a client. Okay, great. How many virtual coffees did you have last week?
Mm-hmm.
So I would propose, in moments of feeling stuck, frustrated, loss of momentum, let's just look at the math. What's the activity that produces the result and how much of that activity is going out? If, however, the stuck isn't a financial momentum, if it's a life calling purpose, I've lost my way momentum, that's a different kind of stuck. And for that, we have a different solution. If you have lost clarity internally, you cannot solve that with willpower. You can't solve it by journaling. You can't solve it by meditating. And we know this to be the case because you would have by now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like eyesight. If your eyes are blurry, you can't squint your way out of it. It takes an external reference point. There's no sense beating yourself up. It's not a character defect that you don't have clarity at this stage of your journey. So here's what you do instead. You put clarity on the shelf for 2 weeks. This doesn't mean that you've given up on what life's calling you to. It doesn't mean that you don't care anymore. It doesn't mean that you're walking away. It doesn't mean you're settling. It doesn't mean any of that. All it means is, despite beating your head against the wall and going to Tony Robbins 5 times and filling out Brene Brown's journaling course 7 times, you don't have any more clarity than you did. So you're going to put that on the shelf for the next 2 weeks. Now, after 2 weeks, you're more than welcome to pick it back up and keep beating your head against the wall. I'm just asking for 2 weeks. You give your poor head a break. Now, in the meantime, there's an achiever inside you that wants to do great things and know it's called to it. So we got to keep that achiever busy. Here's what you're going to do for the next two weeks. You're going to focus your energy on adding emotional value to other people, emotional bank deposits, things that are meaningful to them. You've probably got a friend that thinks golf is God's gift to humanity, the most wonderful thing ever. And you, poor soul, probably think golf is a colossal waste of time and resources and land management. That's okay. For the next 2 weeks, you're going to go to YouTube, find a blooper of golf reels, and you're going to send it to your friend. Hey, saw this, thought of you, hope you're having a great time. Would love to see a picture of your new clubs. Because to them, that is the most meaningful, wonderful thing ever. I promise, if you will put that Gordian knot, what is life calling you to next, on the shelf for 2 weeks and focus your energy
adding emotional bank deposit for other people during that time, I guarantee your brain will make new connections and you will leave that season with more clarity than you've ever had before.
Going back to what you were saying about, how many calls are you making, those sorts of things, very action oriented. Are there specific daily habits or rituals that contribute to a positive mindset?
Remembering how you want to feel. That's well, I'm sorry, that's part of it. That's part of it. People with a healthy, I would say, mental flow tend to structure their day around the things that are the best for their mental flow. People with a less healthy mental flow tend to structure their day around things that they think need to be getting done.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, well, this will take 5 minutes, so I'm going to do that first. And this will take minutes, and I'll do that first. And this will take. So they spend their whole day doing a bunch of little things that somebody else should be doing for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the day, they're too tired to do the one thing that life is calling them to. People with a healthier mental flow say, I can't afford to be out of that. So how else can these other things be done? Who can I partner with, barter with, trade with, consult
Mm-hmm.
with? Because I can't afford to stay out of it. So for mental health, mindset, I would say that. The other thing about mindset is I would ask that we watch our chemicals, watch your chemical intake. I have guys coming to me all the time and they say, gosh, I just don't have the drive that I used to have. I'm not as aggressive as I used to be, not as competitive as I used to be. I want to train at the mindset gym and get my competitive edge back. I say, whoa, whoa, whoa. You don't need the mindset gym. You need a shot of testosterone. Go see your doctor. We have too much coffee, have a little fog in our brain now.
Mm-hmm.
We wake up, we have zero expectations on what we're capable of until we have our first cup of coffee. Well, that's weird. Then the chemicals change in our brain, and now we're like, man, I'm clear and excited and productive. Here we go. But here's the weird part. When you're feeling clear and excited and productive, here we go, you think that's really how you are. You forget that you weren't like that before you had the cup of coffee. It's probably just the chemicals in your head. When you feel depressed and foggy and you've lost your way and you're not motivated, you think that's how you are. What's wrong with me? Why can't I get it together? What's wrong with me? I should be ashamed of myself. No, it's just the chemicals in your head. You probably just need to go for a walk, get some fresh air, clear it up.
Yeah.
So remember how you want to feel. And the other part of that is watch the chemicals. It's
Okay,
probably
very
the
good.
chemicals in your head and not you.
Get some sunshine, get outside. So a lot of people, when we talk about mindset, talk about the power of visualization. Is that something that we need to look at to achieve our goals?
I'm not against putting vision boards on your wall. I'm not. I would just say that your calendar is a more motivating predictor.
Okay.
Like what is the action that if you were to take it every day would cause that vision board to become unavoidable? Like there's no way it can't not happen. What is that
Mm-hmm.
action? Is it writing 10 pages in your next book? Is it recording 10 YouTube clips? Is it making 10 cold calls? What does your calendar say? I think that's a more motivating
Mm-hmm.
drive than what does the vision board say? Because you look at that vision board, and if you haven't cleared away the head trash, your brain is like, yeah, but other
Mm-hmm.
people can do that, but that I can't. That's not me. That's not where I come from. It's not my culture. It's not my community. My family's not like that. My friends aren't like that. I just don't know if I can do that. But other people can, and I believe that they can. They're special. So your brain just gets better at justifying why you can't do something, why you don't have the money, why you don't have the time, why you don't have the resourcefulness.
Mm-hmm.
I think vision boards, while I'm not against them, I think they can work against you, similar to affirmations in the mirror. While you're in the mirror with that pencil in your mouth, to force you to smile, and you're saying the affirmations that you learned from that motivational course. I'm good looking. I'm smart. People like me. I'm a good leader. I'm a great entrepreneur. The more you're saying the affirmations in the mirror, your brain's like, bullshit. No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not. So it just reinforces the limiting beliefs. It just
Mm-hmm.
doubles down on them. They can work against us. I would say a possible alternative to all of that is remember how you want to feel, because that immediately causes your brain to recall the actions that cause you to
Mm-hmm.
feel that way.
So I'm wondering, can you share a story or two of some transformations where mindset really just had somebody shift how they were thinking and, move them to that successful point that they were hoping for?
Yes, 3 stories, all personally meaningful to me. Golly, 4th as well. Geez, so many stories. Okay, so quick review of mindset. It's not a personality, it's not a feeling, like an attitude. It's a strategic pattern of thinking. Um, we cannot change mindset with thinking. You can't fix thinking problems with more thinking. If you have limiting beliefs, you can't go to somebody to talk you out of those limiting beliefs. You don't fix thinking with more thinking. You don't fix it with more information. Knowing what to do doesn't make a hill of beans difference. What changes that pattern of thinking isn't information. It's not more thoughts. It's an emotional feeling in your body. When your body feels emotionally the difference, then your brain rewires itself and you feel it happening on the spot. This is what you experienced at 5 years old when you're learning to ride a bicycle. They take off the training wheels, you're wobbly, you don't have it. Your crazy Aunt Jenny comes by with some advice. This, by the way, is so wonderful because my sister's name is Jenny and she also has red hair.
Very nice.
So your crazy Aunt Jenny comes by with some advice and she says on the bicycle, what you need to do is ride faster. So she gives you information, tells you what to do, tries to add thinking to the equation. And you think that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. If I can't balance going slow, how is going fast going to help? Until the day that you feel a new energy in your body, you feel balance. And instantly, when you feel that balance, your brain rewires itself and goes, oh my gosh, now I understand. But it was the feeling that caused the rewiring, not the information that caused the rewiring.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to share with you about these people, keep in mind that it wasn't information that gave them that shift. It was the feeling in their body of how clarity feels, of how confidence feels, that caused their brain to rewire itself, that then begin to play out in the other areas of their life. That's what we do at the Mindset Gym. We just put that feeling in your body through the mindset push-ups. Okay, so Jane is in her mid-50s. Her kids are in their early 20s. They're moving out of the house, going on to their next stage in life. Jane, though, still feels that life is calling her to something bigger. She knows she's capable of more, and she's got the time now. She's ready to get up to the next thing. The problem is she can't tell you what life is calling her to. She has a lack of clarity. Can't put her finger on it. And this is very frustrating.
Mm.
Well, how do we fix clarity? Not with information, not with advice. We fix it with mindset push-ups by putting the energy, the feeling, restoring that feeling of clarity, because that feeling is what causes the brain to start making new connections that then gives her the clarity of what she's looking for.
Mm.
So we go through the mindset push-ups. She gets the clarity. Come to find out that she had an ability to analyze demographic data that was worth $10,000 an hour. When she looked at reports of a city, she could tell you where the next real estate opportunity was that the local investors were missing. And she was so good at this that her husband quit his job to go to work for a new company. That's the power of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lady who is doing very well, coaching authors, helping them to get their books out there, get them published. Her business is doing fine, but she's got 4 kids at home under the age of 8. And it was very frustrating to her that she'd come home and she's busy around her kids, not present with them. I mean, we got it, food and homework and soccer practice. And, she's got 4 of them. It's just a nightmare. And so she talked to her husband and he wasn't understanding what she was getting at. He didn't see from her perspective. And go through the mindset gym, go through the mindset push-ups. And one of those experiences is how your brain processes information and how the order of that information changes the emotions you feel. She goes back to her husband. He hears her because she simply changed the order of the information, not the tone of voice or what the information was. It wasn't about finding the right words. It was just about putting them in a different order. He hears her. They create 10 hours a week for her to be present with her kids and no longer busy around her kids. Had another lady, Kim. She's working nonprofit. She loves her job, 50 hours a week. She's very happy. And on nights and weekends, she was making these kind of decorative cookies. But one of the problems is her brain was solving problems by taking action. that whole like hustle and grind thing. The harder I work, the more I get done, but it just causes you to always have more work to do. We call this a bad strategy you can't solve with stubbornness. After going through the mindset gym, she gets clarity on that. She feels her mind rewire itself. She starts to think at a higher level. She's got more clarity. She got more confidence. She tripled her income from the side business and cut her production time in half. Not only did this cover any expenses she had so she could leave her full-time job and go into this next venture, but she actually was working less hours doing it, all because her mind was starting to think at a higher level about what was possible in her life. Happy to tell more stories, really.
Yeah, I'm curious. These people all seem to have embraced the idea. What are some misconceptions that people often come to you with about mindset and performance where you've got to overcome that before they can even start the work?
Life coaching. That's one. That the work we do at the Mindset Gym is life coaching. It's not. Life coaching is, you tell me, what do you think you should do?
Right.
But what you think you should do is the same way of thinking that has you in that situation to start with. We don't need more of that, and you can't think your way out of it. It's not business coaching. Business coaching is, this is the operations manual that I use. This is the sales copy I use. Go get them. But that doesn't make sense to you, or you'd already be doing it. I mean, you already have access to YouTube and Google. You've already read the books and been to the seminars. This isn't new information.
Right.
It doesn't make sense for some reason, and that's why you're not doing it. You also don't have that person's personality, and you also don't have that person's marketplace. It's not counseling. Counseling is, and how does that make you feel? Well, you already know how that makes you feel, and you don't want to feel that anymore. It's more like going to the gym. Do 2 of these exercises, do 1 of those, come back tomorrow. The simple act of doing the exercise is what causes your body to feel the shift in energy. And that energy, you feel your brain rewiring itself. Just like when you're reading a book and you have that aha moment. So mindset isn't life coaching. It's not business coaching. It's not counseling. It's an experience that happens in your body. It's not something that you can think your way through, or you would have by now. It's not something you can work your way through, or you would have by now. And it's not something that you're probably even aware of, because you can't read the label from the inside of the bottle. Your way of thinking makes so much sense to you, and you've had it your whole life. It'd be like asking a fish to describe what water is.
Yeah. All right, Jarrod, this is fantastic. It's mind-blowing, but I have to take another quick break. We'll be right back after this. Hey, Salt Nation, this is the Worth Your Salt podcast. I'm Jennifer Oraqua, and today I'm talking with Jarrod Haning about how you can stop trying to check all the things off your to-do list and instead shift your mindset to achieve your goals. We'd love to hear your thoughts on cultivating mindset, so be sure to join Salt Marketing over on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook, and let us know how you're mastering your own mindset. So, Jarrod, I want to talk about how mindset affects our ability to effectively set goals. Should we thinking... Is it bigger thinking, smaller thinking, or just different?
From what we found at the Mindset Gym, the more restrictions you put on the goal, the better your thinking is going to be. You have a goal to, do $100,000 in your business this year. And okay, so you write that plan out. And maybe you work with a productivity coach that really holds your feet to the fire about the details of that plan. How much time is this going to take? What order does it need to be done in? How many people are going to be needed? What has to happen before that? And it's just a super duper realistic, detailed plan. No magical thinking involved. Completely realistic. And if you stay that course, you will absolutely do 100,000 this year. Great. You made your goal. What we would do at the Mindset Gym is we would take the same goal and we'd say, all right, now write us up a plan to do that in 30 days. And at first you say, well, that's impossible. It can't be done. There's just not enough time. There's not enough time because I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this. And no, it's not impossible, because there's people that do it every day and twice on Sunday. It's just impossible using the current strategy. So throw that strategy out and now rewrite the strategy. What would make it possible to do this in 30 days? Well, instead of doing it this way, I'd have to do it that way. Instead of using this platform, I'd have to use that platform. Well, instead of talking to these people, I'd have to talk to these people. And if I was doing it that way, okay, yeah. And so now you've moved from things like having one-on-one conversations to doing podcasts and speaking from the stage, something that operates a little bit better at scale.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Then you're like, but the problem is I don't have the money to do that in 30 days. Okay, great. Now let's write a new plan. How can you do it in 30 days without the time of a year and without using your own money? Oh gosh, it can't be done. No, it just can't be done using your current way of thinking. So how else could it be done? Do you know somebody who has the money? Okay, how can this be done in a way that they would be happy and you would be happy? That they win and you win? Because all the money you need in the world is just in somebody else's bank account. It's just a matter of presenting them an opportunity where it makes sense. So
Mhm.
how can we do it without your time? How can we do it without your money? And you'll find that when you finally get a plan that solves both of those problems, it's so much more eloquent. It's so much more efficient. It's so much more easier for goals. However, the goals conversation, I think, would be dangerous to have if we left out the trap of the to-do list. I could say a quick things about the to-do list. Using a to-do list is not a productivity tool. It actually reduces your income. And here's why. If you look at your to-do list, there's nothing on there that couldn't be delegated for $20 an hour, provided the person was trained with the right system and it was the right person that understood that system. So what that means is the more items you check off your to-do list and the more time you spend checking those things off your to-do list, the more of your day you're spending on the lowest earning tasks in your business.
Mhm.
And you can't run a 7-figure business with a 6-figure mindset. The
Mhm.
to-do list is very dangerous. Instead of thinking about getting things done, you want to start thinking about causing things to be done. How can this happen without your time being involved in it? Who can we partner with, barter with, trade with, consult with?
Mhm.
How can I hire somebody for 2 hours a week? If we can add that to the goals mix, I think we'll be a whole lot farther ahead.
Mhm. That makes sense. What about maintaining momentum? Like if we, how do we stay motivated? Is that also a mindset thing? Because obviously, we can make this shift, but there's always going to be challenging times, periods of uncertainty. How do we maintain that momentum?
Remember how you want to feel.
It always goes back to that, huh?
Remember how you want to feel. That has a way of redirecting our mind to the activities that cause us to feel that way, which has us a way of redirecting our mind to the reason we got in that business to start with.
So, what kind of resources or tools do you recommend? You've referenced the push-ups a couple of times, but if we're looking to improve our mindset and our performance, what would you recommend?
For the mindset, it's those experiences. So any place you can get those experiences. It can be champions in your life, being around them, listening how they talk on the phone. It can be experiences that seem impossible, like this is the whole walking on broken glass or walking on fire or eating fire or skydiving or whatever, learning how to pick up a tarantula, learning how to hold a snake, whatever the thing is that your brain is like, oh, absolutely not. That's not me. But you know good and well that there are people that do this every day and it's completely safe. The only thing standing in between you and doing that is just fear. The more of those experiences you'll stretch together, the more your brain starts to say, now, wait a minute. I thought that was dangerous. Maybe there's nothing wrong with me starting that podcast.
Hmm.
Maybe it's not as dangerous as I thought. So then your brain begins to rethink about what's possible. But it's the experiences that cause that to happen,
Hmm.
not me talking through this microphone and you getting information. It's you actually going to the pet store and saying, I am terrified of spiders. It's my understanding that you can pick up a tarantula safely. Is that true?
Hmm.
Okay. I'm terrified of spiders, but will you show me how to do that? Because I'm
Hmm.
sick of being afraid of things run my life.
Crazy. But good thinking. So tell me a little bit, you referenced it earlier, your mind scan tool. Tell me a little bit about that, what it is, what it does, what it can show us.
Mind scan. Hold up to the screen here for the video, folks. This is
Yep.
the research of Robert Hartman, Nobel nominated, that he came up with in the 1950s. It's measuring your values. This is beyond your subconscious. You can't game the system. It is unlike other assessments you might have been exposed to, DISC, Myers-Briggs, Strength Finder, that kind of thing, and Enneagram. Those types of assessments tend to be questionnaire based because you're responding to questions. Your subconscious is trying to get involved to help the answers along. And this would be like you going to the doctor and him walking into the room with someone else's test results. That wouldn't be helpful information, now would it? So we really don't care what your subconscious is trying to do to answer those questions. We need to get away from that. The other thing is those tests tend to be personality comparisons. They say, hey, you have these traits, and 25% of the population also has these traits.
Right. Yeah.
That would be like going to the doctor and he says, hey, you have this condition, and I have a 25% success rate treating it. I don't care.
Right.
What side of that line am I on?
Yeah.
So the mind scan is only a scientific measurement of the individual and how their mind solves problems. There's no perfect score. There's no right. There's no wrong. There's no comparison, if you will. All it is if something isn't working in your life, if you don't feel a sense of power or freedom of self-expression, if you don't feel seen or valued or heard in key relationships, if you don't feel like you have the free time that you would like, if you don't have the income or resources that you like, if you don't have the resourcefulness, if something isn't working in your life and you've been chipping away at it for a couple years, then odds are working harder isn't going to fix it, or it would have by now. It could be how your mind, the patterns it's using to solve those problems. And this doesn't mean that those patterns are wrong. Everything is a trade-off. Those patterns of thinking have served you very well. They have allowed you to achieve the things that you have achieved so far. But if you want to go to the next level, you can't run a 7-figure business with a 6-figure way of thinking. So what the mind scan does is it allows us to map out what those thinking patterns are. We can now see where the blind spots are. We can see where the strengths are, the opportunities, the breakthroughs that are waiting for us. We can see all of that mapped out. Now there's no guesswork. We know exactly which connections to make, which feelings to have in the body, which mindset push-ups are going to create those feelings. This is the equivalent of being in a corn maze. And you're in the corn maze of your life and you're running faster to get to the end of that road to try to turn left or right, to try to find a different path. And you're just running. And your asthma's kicking up because you're surrounded by all these dead corn leaves and it's hot and you just want out of the maze. It's not fun anymore. And then somebody gives you a step ladder and you go, holy moly, I can see the whole thing. It's so obvious. That's what the mind scan's like. It allows us to get out of our own way, out of our head. We can finally read the label on the inside of the bottle, and now life makes sense.
Outstanding. All right. So if we want to learn more about you, about Mindset Performance, where can we go?
Mindsetperformance.co. If you want to learn a little bit more about the mind scan, if that idea interests you, we'll have in the show notes here 50% discount code for anybody that wants to try the mind scan. And I would just say, don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself and see if what it reveals is helpful.
Very cool. Of course, links to everything that Jarrod mentioned, including his mind scan tool, will be available on our website at saltmarketing.co. But right now, Jarrod, it's time for our lightning round questions. These are a few quick questions I like to ask of every guest. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What's something about you that surprises people?
I was on the 1994 New Mexico State skydiving record.
Okay. That's surprising. All right. What's your favorite thing about the work that you do?
That I get to sit home and look out a big window and still make my kids' baseball practice in time.
Nice. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Remember what you want.
Okay. Last question. Who or what inspires you?
The people that didn't give up. They remembered what they wanted. They found a way. They found a resourcefulness to create the resources that they didn't have because they remembered what they wanted.
I hope that's lots of your clients.
Yes, ma'am.
Jarrod, thanks so much for joining me in this week's episode of Worth Your Salt.
Thank you for having me.
I also want to thank our audience and let you know that if you're ready for your Worth Your Salt debut, you can tell us about your expertise by emailing us at grow@saltmarketing.co. Of course, be sure to subscribe on our website so you never miss an episode. Finally, leave us a review or give the show a handful of stars wherever you get your content. That's all for this episode of Worth Your Salt. Be sure to join me again next time. In the meantime, let's get out there and shake things up. I'm back here on the Worth Your Salt podcast with Jarrod Haning. Haning. Get that again. Here we go in 3. I'm back here on the Worth Your Salt podcast with Jarrod. In 3. I'm back here on the Worth Your Salt podcast with Jarrod Haning, the master coach with. For some reason,
What? It's great. I love it. I love it. These are all great. Keep them, please.
We'll put them at the end. We'll put them at the end as bloopers and outtakes. How many different ways can I say your name?
Woo-hoo.
All right, here we go in 3.